Imagine Roblox is like a multiplayer game of tag. The server is the actual referee, while each player's personal camera is the client. And that's going to be a pretty basic gist of what client versus server replication is in Roblox. The main key difference between server and client replication is the server is kind of like an overseer, while client is each person's individual camera. And I'll show you guys what I mean in a second. Because thankfully, Roblox does give us some visuals that we can look at through Roblox Studio that's going to help you guys understand this a little bit better. So if we actually go to the Roblox documentation, there's a little client server replication thingy that shows us what actually happens when the game is running. And right here, it even gives us a rundown. Roblox experiences are multiplayer by default, and they run in a client server model. The Roblox server is the ultimate authority for maintaining the experience state and is responsible for keeping all connected clients in sync with the server. What that basically means is that this green frame right here is the server. You have these three players right here. And the server is like has its own like little camera and it oversees every single player. While the client is actually each individual player. See how we have this girl right here, this avatar, and now she's down here. And this is her camera, and then this is this girl's view, and then this ogre's view right here as well. Now this whole documentation is pretty nice to read. I did enjoy reading about the physics part, but I got sidetracked when I was actually reading it. So right here's a little client thingy that happens when Roblox is running, when experience is running. This is a little bit like if you're more advanced, if you're more on the geek side, and you like this, you'll see. But the more important one really is replication. The server constantly updates connected clients, keeping everything in sync across the server and clients through a process called replication. This is synchronizes the data model, physics simulation, and chat messages. Replication logic both exists on the client and server to ensure synchronization. And that may sound like a lot right now, but it's actually pretty simple when you get to understand it a little bit more. So here we have a server with three connections to three client devices. In basic terms, the server is basically what fits for everybody in a Roblox game, and a client is each individual person's different things that are meant for them. For example, a good example of the server is well, when you're in a game of like if you guys have played like Final Stand 2 or any game like zombie wave based games like a tower defense game, the server is spawning in mobs because you want everybody to see those mobs, correct? That's how it is. One shoe or one size fits all kind of thing for everybody. This will happen on everybody's screen. The server controls what happens in the whole game, while the client is for each individual person's screen. So, for example, on the server, you'll have a boss spawn or something. Everybody has to go fight that boss, right? You would do that on the server. You don't want one person to see that boss. While on the client, maybe someone completed their quest. If you put that logic on the server, like in a ServerScripts, well, then maybe that would show up for everybody if one person completed their quest. You don't want that. You want that data to synchronize and replicate to that single client, that single person's like POV basically. Because if I complete a quest or I open up a shop frame or something, it should only be opening up for me, while on the server side, that would open up for everybody else, if that kind of makes sense. So like local scripts is like, so yeah, local scripts is right here. If we search up local scripts, we have these blue scripts. And local scripts are basically client-sided scripts, while these white scripts are server-sided scripts. These are only on the server. Now we have module scripts as well. These can be either or. These deserve their own video because they're going to be so useful later down the line. So don't even worry about that purple script yet. And yeah, so as always, let's get rid of the script. And let's just see some server client replication. Let's just see, like, I said a lot of yapping. I kept saying, server is this and the client does this. Let's just see it in real time. So if we actually just say, like, I'm going to call this, like, server or something. And before I actually write anything, I want to show you guys all of these services. So the next video will be about all these services, but for now, just know client script can only be replicated right here, starter GUI, which is like frames and such, and the starter pack, starter player in both of these folders, and replicated first. Yes. And replicated storage as well. So now I'm going to put inside of starter player, or actually, yeah, let's put in starter player. Or actually, yeah, let's put in starter player. And boom, now we have a local script. Local scripts are generally going to be in a starter player or a starter character. I'll go over these in the next video. Don't worry about these yet. So now let's actually write some code. The nice thing about local scripts is that if we notice right here, if we say local player is equal to game.players, we can't get any player. But through the player service, we can actually get the player through it. And we get this local player. And see how that works? It's getting the client script it's returning back the current player who is playing right now at runtime, basically. And this is gonna run for each individual player when it's running, because each player is gonna be their own local player. They have their own client, their own screen that has server application being added onto it, which is pretty nice. And we can't do that in the server because remember the server's logic is I want to control the whole game, not something for just each individual person. That's how the server works, right? And that's a better like not visualization, but example of it. Client scripts really just control for each individual player's camera and what they're seeing on their screen, while server scripts control for everybody. You know. So now we can really just say like we can say like local part is equal to instance.new part. And matter of fact, I'm gonna actually put this in a while loop. Or we don't have to do that. We could say part.parent is equal to workspace. And then we could say part.color is equal to color3 from new. Choose any color you want. I'm gonna say red. And then we're gonna anchor this part so it doesn't fall out the map. And if we actually run this on the server, as per usual, I did not set up the position. So now this part is gonna be somewhere random. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. I didn't set up the position for the part. Okay, funny me. And matter of fact, actually, let's just mess around with these parts we already have. So I'm gonna actually say workspace.myPart, and the color is going to become red. So I'm gonna just make this back to gray as it was the default. Yeah, that works. So on the server, as we can see, did I get an error? Oh, I look up, bro. I was looking at the wrong part. Okay. As we can see, it's red. And right here, we can actually see what the server sees. So if we hop on over here, and we see right here testing, we have the current. We're looking at the client because we're looking at my player. I'm the client. I'm a part of the client. And we press on this, we can switch to the server. And now this is what the server sees. Kind of similar to how the example, the visual model I showed you guys. It's pretty similar in the fact that I'm seeing everything through this camera. And the server really just oversees everything. You see this? I can see everything in here. While the client is for that individual person's camera. You see how now I'm back here. So now if we press stop, and then you might be wondering, okay, what am I trying to portray here? We made a part red, so what? Hold on. So if I put this script into here, into this local script, and matter of fact, I might put this local script somewhere else. And it doesn't matter. It's okay. And I want to make this like fossil. Okay, this is a fossil color. That's fine. So now let's actually press play. Or matter of fact, before you press play, actually no, yeah, press play and then I'll show you guys after. Yeah. So now if we press play, it's fossil color, right? I did something wrong. I did something really wrong. Hold on. Huh. That's weird. If I make it green. Let me see if this is even. Yeah, my part. 255 anchored. Yeah. Actually. Oh, I see why. Okay. My bad. But beforehand, we were using like touched events for the part to make it like, new colors. And we were doing that on the server. So if any player touched it, then it would make it it would do that for the whole game, right? Now let's make that for each individual player. So if I say local players equal to game.players.local player, that was fast. And then I'm going to say my part, workspace.myPart. I'm going to say my part.touch to connect a function of our other part. And we're going to say if other part.parent is equal to player.character, which is really nice that we can get player.character from this. And I'm gonna just print out touched just for some testing real quick. Unless I'm gonna have to use like find first ancestor like we were before. My part is not a valid member of workspace. What? Oh yeah, okay. So you're gonna get this a lot with client stuff, is that the client does like run before. So I'm gonna actually say local character right here is going to player.character or player.character added wait. Which basically this is gonna say once the player character, we're gonna either get the player character if it's already loaded, or we're gonna wait for him to load in. That's really about it. And then I'm also gonna be safe. I'm just gonna test that wait by a second as well, just to let everything load in. Which is why I probably should use a wait for child actually. Yeah. Okay. And now okay, we get the touched event. Very nice, very nice. And the cool thing about this is now we can actually do this. We can say every time we touch it, we can say instead of printing out while, we could say like while test dot wait 1 second do, and then we can say like color or my part dot color is equal to color 3 dot from RGB math dot random 0255 math dot random 0255 math dot random 0255. Maybe I'll have to use bright color. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Okay, I was running the loop a little crazy. But as you can see, that's gonna give someone a seizure. Holy, let me just. Oh my god, I put a million loops in there because I touched it 1,000 times. But this is happening on the client. Now, if I hop onto the server, it's still green. You see that? The server still sees it green, but on my client, I'm seeing it as this randomization of colors, this rainbow color. You guys see how that works? How the server has these already set in place, and the server it sees what it sees through its camera lens, right? But if we manipulate stuff on the client, we can manipulate what the server sees by default for our player, for only for our camera. And you can see how this is going to be useful in the future, because I wouldn't want to press a button that would open up a frame for everybody. I would want it to open up just for me. You usually do that in games anyway. Or like you wouldn't have a quest, pop up if you complete it. Or why would it show to everybody, So and if I put this on the actual server, and I can't get these, so let's just actually get rid of this. And yeah, here's actually a better representation. Let's get rid of this. And we can actually go up here and press test. And we can press test with 3 players. This is gonna spawn in 3 bot players for you to test your game with. So this is pretty useful because it literally shows you different aspects and different client cameras from players, so you can simulate like actual testing players into your game. And be warned, it does take like a minute to actually spawn in, so just sit here for a second. Okay, perfect. It gives us our server and our 3 clients, so we're kind of replicating the same thing I showed you guys from earlier. So damn, it's so slow. Like it's booting up like 3 different. Like this takes a second, bro. This takes a minute. Holy. But while this loads, you can see everything in the output that's happening on the server. And this green stuff over here is what's happening on the server. You won't see the client stuff if you're looking through the server. And on the server, we'll also see when players actually load in and spawn in. We'll also see right here in the player service as well. Boom, there we go. Player 1 spawned in. I'm on the server. I'm looking at him. I see him. Now I'm just waiting for player 2 to spawn in. And even right here, it's showing it's loading our data model. So we're just going to have to be patient. I'm probably going to just cut this out. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Every single player is now in the game. Yeah, damn. So now we can go to the client in the camera view, POV of each actual player. So if I touch this button or this part, now it's going to be spazzing out colors. If I load into this player right here, this other player, and I try to look at the same part, and I try to look at the same damn part, it's so laggy. Oh my god. And yeah, the part is still green, but on his screen, it's spazzing out. You see this? But on my screen and on the server, nothing happened. And that's really a general basis of client versus server. You know, the client sees what the client needs to see for that individual camera, that individual player, while the server is the overseer of every single person and every single camera and everything in the server. Now, if I did put the script inside of the ServerScript service, then when a player touches it, the color randomization would have kept happening for every single player because it was on the server. It was replicating that to every single client. The server replicates to every single client, while the client is for individual people. And that's really a basic rundown of server versus client scripts and client and server replication. I just wanted to get you guys to know this, be familiar with it in some way, just because it is important to know for the future and the next video. And these blue scripts may have been confusing or disheartening you. You wouldn't put data or something like that. I did it in the first year, like the first when I first started scripting, I put data in a local script one time. And I was like, man, why isn't my data working right? Like, you want data for each player on the server, but you would store it for each individual player on the server, which is just, oh man. A good note to have is hackers can actually manipulate the local scripts, but they can't get into the server script. So if you can make your logic work on the server script and not a local script, then you would probably want to do that. Like, you wouldn't want to send in values from the local scripts just because of hackers and exploiters. But if you absolutely have to, it's no big deal. I doubt hackers. I mean, you can never be too safe. Anyway, that'll be about it for today's video. See you guys in the next one.